Daredevil number 7, written by Saladin Ahmed, with art by Aaron Cooter, colors by Jesus Urbatov, VC's Clayton Coles, on letters, and we're going to continue this whole 7 Deadly Sins. This is actually part 7 of Introductory Rites. I'm going to give you a bit of the background here. Recently, Matt found himself missing parts of his memory and working as a Catholic priest overseeing St. Nicholas, a youth home. But as violent gangs walk the streets, demonic entities have mysteriously broken out of hell and targeted those closest to him. The battles for their souls have begun to reveal Matt's long-hidden memories of his previous life, including protecting the city as Daredevil alongside Electra. Matt has revealed the truth. The devils are his own 7 deadly sins, and emerging from a revelatory, vision-clad and all-white costume, Matt vowed to save his allies and loved ones from himself no matter the cost. And that is a mouthful there. Now, I usually don't mention the covers, but the cover by John Romita Jr., it's a little off. I mean, speaking of 5 deadly sins, that's what I call Matt's hand. That looks like a giant claw. He may be flashing gang signs. I don't know. It's really bad. It is really bad. But on with the issue, which has pretty cool art. Aaron Cooter, I do like his art. It's kind of that cartoony, gritty style, and it works for this issue where it is the white-clad Matt Daredevil going against Wolverine. Wolverine's in town with a few days to thrill, it seems, and he is one of the remaining deadly sins. Now, with all of this, I just like to point out every time I talk about Daredevil that I did say, and Matt, when we were talking about this on the podcast, that right away we knew that this seemed to be the 7 deadly sins when everybody was losing their mind in the first couple issues. But we have Wolverine here, and as they fight, because you end up seeing he's possessed, you even have Daredevil say, since I dealt with Doctor Strange, I can kind of tell here, and boom, the fight is on. It is very, very bloody. It is a very bloody fight going on, but it's good. And here's the thing with this issue. There's not a ton to it, but I actually like the art, and I actually just like the action scenes. There's a pretty good choreography going with the scenes, and as this is going on, you have Matt trying to figure things out, but also talking about Wolverine and what he knows about Wolverine. Yeah, it gets a little bit over the top. At one point, he says, it's like fighting a slab of meat wrapped around a lead pipe. Okay. Saladin Ahmed, laying it on a bit heavy there. But overall, this is one of those issues. It continues the story, and it's okay. I'm not going to say it's the greatest, but because of the gore, because of the fights, it is okay. And by the end, or at least the middle of this fight, you end up where Matt, he keeps thinking, okay, this is my wrath. I get it. Nobody can do wrath more than Wolverine. Pretty good. Almost giving like props to, the 7 deadly sin there of wrath, until you have the possessed Wolverine kind of say, by the way, you think that I'm wrath? Well, guess what? I'm not. I'm actually your lust. And when we have this, you always have kind of a different panel where it shows the possession, and it's pretty cool. It's just this bloody demon behind Wolverine as Wolverine's slashing, and I mean, he is slicing and dicing. Matt's all cut all over the place, especially his chest. And even as Matt was fighting, he keeps thinking, okay, I'm beating up Wolverine, I'm hurting Wolverine, but he's gonna heal, but I'm not, and I'm having some problems. And yeah, so this whole thing ends up being kind of, it's an epiphany to Daredevil thinking, okay, he thought it was wrath. Like, oh my God, this is what happens. I go out as Daredevil because I want to get revenge. I want to, knock some heads in for bad people. And I'm learning that might not be the greatest thing. But then when it twists into, no, this is your lust, then it really kind of sets Matt off a bit. He actually is like, oh no, not my lust, as blood is just pretty much, they're painting the town red is what they're doing in their blood. But this kind of gets to him. Now, it works in with what has come up to this point where you do have Matt come back as Father Matt, the priest. And he even ended up where he had to get that costume on. He had to go out. And he said at one point, I love going out. I'm a man of the cloth during the day, but at night, I kind of have to work things out. I really, lust for this violence. And this kind of is the exclamation point to it, I guess, that he says. And he's kind of has to come to grips with this. Now, I would guess that people would have thought that when we get to lust, you would have Electra. Electra does, spoiler alert, she does show up at the end of this issue, but she already ended up getting possessed by Sloth at the very beginning, one of the first deals. And I wonder if they're going to go back to her again. That would seem a little odd. So that's why I think you make this lust. Maybe it's one of those things that the 7 deadly sins kind of were playing it on, on the fly, calling a couple of audibles there at the line. And maybe you had to adjust because you would have thought that Electra would have been lust, but that's the twist here. So you go with it. And so Matt has to figure out what to do. And what he ends up figuring out, I got to get Wolverine into some water. I got to have him. We're going to go into the river. We're going to go and sink because of the adamantium. And this is something that I ended up getting into an argument with somebody not that long ago. It actually was in the Wolverine book by Ben Percy, where Ben Percy even said that one of the things that Wolverine, and it has been back and forth, and when you have characters that have been around a long time, different people write it different ways, but at one point, Wolverine was kind of afraid of the water because he sinks, and then the healing factor kind of goes off because he keeps dying and things like that. So he ends up going and tackling them into the water. They sink down, but then Matt, again, he doesn't want to hurt Wolverine. He's just trying to get him unpossessed, which he kind of does here. And as this is going on, you end up seeing the blood of the lust demon. It kind of rises up. Then Matt does a weird thing, and it's like he gets a stick and throws it really hard, and then it attaches to the side of where they were, where they jumped into the railing, whatnot. It's kind of not well played out, but I don't know that it really is a great thing where he does, and then it zips him and Wolverine up. But Wolverine's so heavy at that point and all that. It just kind of seemed like, okay, we did our deal. Let's get the hell out of here. And they go up, and then it does end at this point where they are having a beer together. They end up grabbing some clothes and some gauze. They have the lost and found deal. You end up having a first aid kit, and they're having a beer together. And Daredevil is obviously like, man, I'm really sorry. The funny thing is, you shouldn't be that sad. Wolverine at this point is no fuss, no muss. He's healed up. Matt's a wreck. He's doing one of those things where he's using the beer to put on his head because he's got all these lumps and bumps and he's hurting. And Wolverine's just like, yeah, you got me some whiskey, let's call it even. You don't owe me anything, as people are cleaning up the blood from before. Nobody's really batting an eye that Wolverine was slicing and dicing people before this, but you end up where Wolverine's like, catch you later. But then he does say, and his bit of advice is, and he says, since I'm tipsy and feeling generous, Hornhead, I'm going to leave you with some advice. It's better to make your peace with what you are than spend a lifetime denying it. Take it from someone who knows firsthand. That's a lesson that I think Wolverine, it took him a while to learn himself, but he's passing on. It's like, I'll catch you later. And he ends up leaving. So we go from there. And again, it is that 7 deadly sin of the month club here, but I did like the art. And I do like where you get, say, a Wolverine here, Doctor Strange, Electra before. I like that we're getting these characters. And then you have other things going on in this book as well, and maybe too many things at points, but you have a guy come up to Daredevil and say, hey, I got this note here. I got the idea of where the heat will be. The heat. They didn't do that well in Gang War, but they're still, trying here. And you end up where this is another gang member from a rival gang whose buddies all got killed. He wants to get kind of revenge, and he wants to send the devil after him. So he's like, here's some info. This is what I kind of found out about them. Go get him, Daredevil. And then Matt leaves. He's swinging weird. He's swinging through the city, and he's all beat up. He's got this crazy green shirt coat from the Lost and Found. He looks crazy, but he goes back to the St. Nicholas youth home. And then the next day and he's beat up. The next day he has to go and try to get some things for his gal, Chloe, the little cute girl who has asthma, ends up going to get her inhaler and being led here, there, and everywhere because this pharmacy doesn't have it. Then he's got to go to this other pharmacy, and then he's got to go here. So as they're going, you end up where she sees some kitties and some dogs. Like, oh my God, can we see this? Can we? And he's having a nice enough time. It's one of those things. It's like Subduing is trying to juggle this whole thing of having Father Matt, but also Daredevil. Father Matt stuff is nice enough. Not the greatest. Not the greatest. I'm telling you. You might want to just kind of leave this, and when we finally do, I might be happy, but it's okay. And then at the end, he's sitting there. He goes back to the youth home. Everybody is asleep, and he's sitting there, putting his costume away, thinking things. He's got that note of where he can find the heat. Everything's going good. And then he can tell that old Electra has come in the window again, feeling like this is the lust part of it, but no. But she is coming in the window. We don't know that she's possessed, not possessed. I kind of hope she's not. Like I said, we kind of already had that, but you never know. The next cover looks like Matt is going to go take it to the heat. So we'll see if it just goes with that. And again, because Electra was the quote-unquote Daredevil in gang war going after the heat, maybe it'd be nice to have her join him in this book. I know a lot of people don't like Electra as Daredevil. I just go with the idea that, hey, she is kind of co-Daredevil, and I wouldn't mind seeing her do some things with Matt. Like I said, I like the art. Another thing that Aaron Kuder does, he doesn't like draw big things on the page a lot. It's a detailed, smaller deal, so you get to see more of the fight. I think that's probably why I do like a lot of his fight scenes, because a lot of times he actually gives you the full panel and you get to see, oh, there's Matt where he's kicking Wolverine. There's one point when they fall down onto the hood of a car and then Matt like throws Wolverine off with his feet. That looks really, really awesome. I'm not going to say it's the greatest piece of art, but it actually plays the choreography really well. So I do like that. So I'm going to give it probably a 7 out of 10. I'm going to be generous with a 7 because, yes, we're still doing the whole 7 deadly sins. We have the stuff with Chloe and Haler. I mean, there's a lot going on, but, I kind of want to get past this and see what goes from there. I do have to mention, too, that you might want to get rid of that white suit. I know that people don't really dig the Daredevil white suit, but if you're going to fight people like Wolverine, that is now a red suit anyway. I mean, it's soaked in blood, so maybe that's how we get the red suit back. By the end, it's soaked in blood. It's pretty crazy. But I don't know. I kind of like the look of it. It kind of looks crazy, but let me know what you think.